Well, good morning. It's kind of a small group today, but it's nice to see everyone here this morning. My name is Annette Lovell, and I'm your worship associate today. And we're bringing you our service with Arthur Kull and our tech, Drew White. We always like to start our services with a few announcements, get the business dealt with, so we'll jump right into that. First of all, if you are joining us online, please make a quick note and say hello so we know who's joining us. I hope with as small as our in-person group is that there's a lot of people online, so we don't want to forget about them. Here in the sanctuary, joys and concerns still need to be written on those piece of paper. So if you want to do that, the papers are in the very back. Feel free to get up and grab those and fill those out. They'll bring them up a little bit later in the service. Oh, and if you're online, you can put them in the chat box and we will get them from there. Also a reminder that we're not able to pass offertory baskets still, so it is also located in the back of the sanctuary where you can put any donations or your pledge cards as they're finalizing the budget. You can also go online to our website and use the Give button in the right-hand corner. As always, of course, any and all monetary donations are very, very gratefully received. Let's see, if you have been investigating the Unitarian Universalist faith, and especially this congregation, Reverend Kevin is looking to hold a new member class sometime this spring. So please reach out to him personally or to the office if you are interested. Kevin can be reached at minister@idahofallsuu.org or the office at uucifoffice@gmail.com.
And Annette, today with Reverend Kevin gone, I can answer questions in person today if anyone's here and has questions.
Very good. Very good. And the most important announcement is our annual meeting is next Sunday. That is January 30th at 2 o'clock. The entire meeting will be held online through Google Meet. We'll be reviewing the year, voting on multiple very important items, including our budget, of course. We need a quorum, which makes it especially important that members join in, vote, and be a part of this very democratic process. So please mark your calendars for next week. That should give everyone time, if you do come to the service, to go home, get lunch, and then get online. So now let us prepare for worship with a few moments to settle in, calm our heart, our minds, and our breathing. Let's take a moment to breathe deeply in and out, listening to our breath, listening to the breaths of those around us. Put conscious thoughts into stilling your minds, and we'll peacefully sit together, and I will ring the peace bowl 3 times. And we will begin our service with our prelude. So our church's covenant helps us remember why we are part of this faith and why we give our time and our resources to this congregation. If you so choose, please feel free to recite along with me the covenant that this congregation has chosen to live by. Love is the spirit of this community and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And lighting a chalice is a ritual we use for all UU services and large gatherings. Lighting the chalice helps us center and reminds us to let in the holy. There are different interpretations of each symbol, but many of us see the lighted flame representing all of our individual lights within each of us, joined together into one. And the chalice is the earth, cupping and cradling that one flame. So our chalice lighting this morning is brought to us by Arthur Kull. He says, "Let there be light, the light of joy, the light of happiness, and the light of contentment. May it illuminate our paths and fill our lives with peace. And let there be dark, for it is from our dark places that we are brought forward, tried and tested, and impelled towards growth. It is in these places that we realize compassion and learn to love. And there was day, and there was night, and there was joy, and there was sorrow, and it was good." And our call to worship this morning comes from the words of the extraordinary Buddhist spiritual teacher Thich Nhat Hanh that passed away just this week at age 95. We'd like to honor him today with his words. It is his poem, "Please Call Me by My True Names." He says, "Don't say that I will depart tomorrow. Even today I am still arriving. Look deeply. Every second I am arriving to be a bud on a spring branch, to be a teeny bird with still fragile wings, learning to sing in my new nest, to be a caterpillar in the heart of a flower, to be a jewel hiding in a stone. I still arrive in order to laugh and to cry, to fear and to hope. The rhythm of my heart is the birth and death of all that is alive. I am the mayfly metamorphosing on the surface of the river, and I am the bird that swoops down and swallows the mayfly. I am the frog swimming happily in the clear waters of a pond, and I am the grass snake that silently feeds itself on the frog. I am the 12-year-old girl, refugee on a small boat, who throws herself into the ocean after being raped by a sea pirate. I am also the pirate, my heart not yet capable of seeing and loving. I am a member of the Politburo with plenty of power in my hands, and I am the man who has to pay his debt of honor to my peoples dying slowly in the forced labor camps. My joy is like spring, so warm it makes flowers bloom all over the earth. My pain is like a river of tears, so vast it fills the four oceans. Please, call me by my true names, so I can hear all my cries and laughter at once, so I can see that my joy and pain are one. Please, call me by my true names, so I can wake up and the door of my heart could be left open, the door of compassion. Our opening hymn is page 101, Abide With Me, and you can sit quietly behind your mask and mouth the words and enjoy it with Jessica as she plays.
Abide with me, fast falls the eventide. life's little day. Earth's joys grow dim, His glories pass away. Change and decay in all around I see. Oh, thou who changes not, abide with me. I fear no foe, with thee at hand to bless. Ills have no weight, and tears no bitterness. Where is death's sting? Where grieve thy victory? I triumph still if thou abide with me.
Today's Time for All Ages is Nana Upstairs and Nana Downstairs, story and pictures by Tommy De Paola. When Tommy was a little boy, he had a grandmother and a great-grandmother. He loved both of them very much. He and his family would go to visit every Sunday afternoon. His grandmother always seemed to be standing by the big black stove in the kitchen. His great-grandmother was always in bed upstairs because she was 94 years old. So Tommy called them Nana Downstairs and Nana Upstairs. Almost every Sunday was the same. Tommy would run into the house, say hello to his grandfather Tom, and Nana downstairs, and then go up the back stairway to the bedroom where Nana upstairs was. "Get some candy," Nana upstairs would say, and he would open the lid of the sewing box on the dresser, and there would be candy mints. Once, Nana downstairs came into the bedroom and helped Nana upstairs to the big Morris chair and tied her in so she wouldn't fall out. "Why will Nana upstairs fall out?" Tommy asked. "Because she is 94 years old," Nana downstairs said. "I'm 4 years old," Tommy said. "Tie me in a chair too." So every Sunday, after he found the candy mints in the sewing box on the dresser, Nana downstairs would come up the back stairway and tie Nana upstairs and Tommy in their chairs, and then they would eat their candy and talk. Nana upstairs told him about the little people. "Watch out for the fresh one with the red hat with the feather in it. He plays with matches," she said. "I will," said Tommy. "There he is," she said, "over by the brush and comb. See him?" Tommy nodded. When Nana downstairs had finished her work by the big black stove and baked a cake to eat before Tommy went home, she would come back upstairs. "Now," Nana downstairs would say as she untied Tommy from his chair, "we must all take our naps." After their naps, Nana downstairs would comb out Nana upstairs' beautiful silver white hair. Then Nana downstairs would comb and brush her own hair. And she would twist her hair and pin it up on top of her head. "Now make the cow's tail," Tommy would say. One time, Tommy's older brother came into the bedroom and saw Nana upstairs with her hair all down around her shoulders, and he ran away. "She looks like a witch," he said. "She does not," Tommy said. "She's beautiful." "Time for ice cream," shouted Grandfather Tom, and Tommy and his brother went with him, and sometimes their father and their Uncle Charles, down to the ice cream store. When they got back, it was time for Nana upstairs to have supper, and Tommy would help carry the tray of milk and crackers up the back stairway. Once, Tommy's father took movies of the whole family. He took movies of Nana downstairs and Nana upstairs, and Tommy stood in the middle. One morning, when Tommy woke up at his own house, his mother came in to talk to him. "Nana upstairs died last night," she said. "What's died?" Tommy asked. "Died means that Nana upstairs won't be here anymore," Mother answered. They went to Tom and Nana downstairs' house, even though it wasn't Sunday. Tommy ran up the back stairway before he'd even said hello. He ran into Nana upstairs' room. The bed was empty. Tommy began to cry. "Won't she ever come back?" he asked. "No, dear," Mother said softly, "except in your memory. She will come back in your memory whenever you think about her." From then on, he called Nana downstairs just plain Nana. A few nights later, Tommy woke up and looked out his bedroom window at the stars. All of a sudden, a star fell through the sky. He got up and ran to his mother and father's bedroom. "I just saw a falling star," he said. "Perhaps that was a kiss from Nana upstairs," said Mother. A long time later, when Tommy had grown up, Nana downstairs was old and in bed, just like Nana upstairs. And then she died too. And one night, when he looked out his bedroom window, Tommy saw another star fall gently through the sky. "Now you are both Nana upstairs," he thought. The end.
Well, it's time for our joys and concerns. I think we have collected all of them that are here in the sanctuary. So I will read these as Arthur lights our candles. First of all, we have a joy from Pam Lilburn. She says, Judy Stanley is recovering from hip replacement surgery. She greatly appreciated the flowers and the meals from the care team and the congregation. We're glad she's feeling better. A joy and a concern both. I guess Vic Allen, who had kidney transplant surgery in December last month, is back in the hospital in Salt Lake. His body may be rejecting the kidney. However, he feels pretty good, and the rejection should be able to be treated, so he is in good spirits. So there's hope with that. Victoria has a joy. Her mother, Catherine Nelson, who many of us remember and love very dearly, would have been 100 yesterday. And the Genghis Khan exhibit at the museum is fabulous and worth at least 2 visits, she said. Karen Croft has a couple of concerns, one of which is that the Secretary of State is successful in reaching an agreement with President Putin to withdraw border troops and not to invade the Ukraine. Also a concern about the COVID numbers and how they are not going in the right direction in Idaho, and in Idaho Falls very specifically. Something also very similar from Dave Vett, also about COVID. She has a concern about how rampant COVID is, and her mom is in Lincoln Court, which of course still with a lot of people, but so far so good. Davette also has a joy that her friend Lynn Stanford's parents, both in their 90s, got COVID, but she has been able to take care of them, and they are recovering. A joy from Kat Reese. She says her daughter Kelsey has cheer competition in Sandy, Utah next week, and they're very excited and nervous for her. It's her first ever competition, so just wish her luck. And last weekend, she got to see her son and baby, plus her dad, which she hadn't seen for several months. So she had a wonderful weekend with family, which is good. Do we have any candles left?
Well,
no. And we'll just light one more for, again, a candle for the passing of Thich Nhat Hanh, who has affected many, many people in his life, and to represent all of those joys and concerns that we decided not to share today.
So we have one from the chat. Bob Schaefer's arm is out of its cast, and his elbow surgery is healing. He can almost reach his nose with his right hand at this point.
Thank you, Drew.
Today's reading is a theological mantra articulated by Reverend Forrest Church in his book, Love and Death, My Journey Through the Valley of the Shadow, published in 2008. Religion is our human response to the dual reality of being alive and having to die. We are the religious animal. Knowing that we must die, we cannot help but question what life means. We are more alike in our ignorance than we differ in our knowledge. God is not God's name. God is our name for that which is greater than all and yet present in each. Whether or not there is life after death, surely there is love after death. The one thing that can never be taken from us, even after death, is the love we give away before we die. The purpose of life is to live in such a way that our lives will prove worth dying for. Let us now enjoy the interlude by Jessica, Vals Melodico by Enrique Granados. It has been a little over 2 years now since we started hearing about an outbreak of pneumonia cases in Wuhan, China. Early on, the cause of the illness was identified as an infection by a new virus of the corona family. It was then labeled COVID-19, CO standing for corona, V for virus, and D for disease. And 19, of course, for the year it started affecting humans, that is December of 2019. It didn't take very long for it to show up on the North American continent, starting with Oregon, Washington, and New York in February 2020. Very quickly, it spread to all 50 states. By mid-March, due to cases overwhelming the healthcare system, a national emergency was declared by then President Trump. And most states mandated people to shelter in place, that is, to stay home unless you needed to get food or other essential supplies. What a wild ride it has been since then. More like a bad dream, actually. Of course, at the beginning of the lockdown, the adrenaline flowed in our veins as we tried to figure out how to live our lives within the constraints imposed by mandates and by our wish to escape the virus. We quickly had to find new ways of working, connecting, socializing, and shopping. Zoom, Google Meet, FaceTime, and Skype became the essential tools of our work and our social life. So did masks and physical distancing. To fight the ensuing cabin fever, we walked a lot, from walks around the neighborhood to going around the Greenbelt, Freeman Park, Community Park, and Snake River Landing, and of course, workouts at the gym. Most of my friends thought I was crazy to go to the gym, but since hardly anybody was there, and they had changed the climate control to once-through airflow, I felt very safe. That fall, we even went on a road trip to Cody, Wyoming, to visit the world-class Whitney Western Art Museum at the Buffalo Bill Center of the West. As an aside, the works of art there are different from the National Wildlife Art Museum in Jackson in that they do not focus on the beauty of nature, but offer a social critique or have an emotional content that often just grabs you, such as a portrait by painter James Barna of a well-dressed but sad-looking Native American in front of a wall on which you can make out the following words: "No parking. Violators will be towed away." Slowly, we made our way back home to the next 3 days via Medicine Mountain Plateau, Ranchester, Bozeman, Helena, Butte, and the Anaconda Loop. We even found a nice restaurant open in Butte to celebrate my 80th birthday. Memories of that trip kept us going through the winter of 2020-2021. Having been vaccinated early in 2021, we felt like the world was opening for new adventures, and we thought we could finally go and visit our families in Switzerland. But that didn't work out, as they were now on lockdown all over Europe. In addition, mandatory 2-week-long quarantines in a hotel room, and of course a quarantine after coming back home, made the trip very unappealing. That is when panic kind of set in with the following question: will we ever be able to see our children and grandchildren again before we die? Although it seemed that the vaccination greatly enhanced the survival of patients with COVID, there was obviously no guarantee that we would survive an infection. Many thoughts and feelings about our own mortality started creeping up in our minds, especially since Annalise and I are now in our 80s. That is, in the most vulnerable part of the population. Then in December of last year, my book club, a men's book club, read the book When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. At the age of 36, on the verge of completing a decade's worth of training as a neurosurgeon, the author, Paul Kalanithi, was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. One day he was a doctor treating the dying, and the next he was a patient struggling to live. And just like that, the future he and his wife had imagined evaporated. The cancer then metastasized to the brain. Knowing his days were counted, he wrote, "If time dilates when one moves at high speed, does it contract when one moves barely at all? It must. The days have shortened considerably, with little to distinguish one day from the next. Time has begun to feel static." In English, we use time in different ways. Time is 2:45 versus I'm going through tough times. Now, the time of day means nothing. The day of the week, scarcely more. When starting a career, you are future-oriented. You're thinking about what you'll be doing in 5 years. But now, I don't know what I'll be doing in 5 years. I may be dead. So it is not useful to think about the future that is beyond lunch. Everyone succumbs to finitude. I suspect I am not the only one who reaches this state. Most ambitions are either achieved or abandoned. Either way, for me, they belong to the past. The future, instead of a ladder towards goal of life, flattens into a perpetual present. Money, status, all the vanities the preacher of Ecclesiastes described hold so little interest. A chasing after wind. Paul Kalanithi died in 2015. I would also like to quote from an article Reverend Forrest Church, senior minister of All Souls UU Church in New York City, wrote in a summer issue of 2008 UU World just before his death. As an aside, Reverend Forrest Church once addressed his congregation in the early 2000s when he came to Idaho to visit his mother, Bethune Church, in Boise. His father, Frank Church, had been a U.S. Senator from Idaho who spearheaded the effort to establish a wilderness in central Idaho bearing his name. Here's what he wrote. For us to be here in the first place, more than 1 billion accidents took place. Even the 1 in a million sperms connection with the equally unique egg is nothing compared to everything else that happened from the beginning of time until now to make it possible for us to be here. What a luxury we enjoy, wondering what will happen to us after we die, even what will happen before we die. Having spent billions of years in gestation, present in all that preceded us, fully admitting the pain and difficulty involved in actually being alive, able to feel and suffer, grieve and die, we can only respond in one way, with awe and gratitude. We see little of the road ahead or the sky above, and the dust we raise clouds our eyes, leaving only brief interludes to contemplate the stars. All we can do every now and again is to stop for a moment and look. Look, morning has broken, and we are here, you and I, breathing the air, admiring the slant sun as it refracts through these windows and dances in motes of dust above the pews, calling us to attention, calling us homeward. Dust to dust, heart to heart. So, how do we feel in the middle of this Omicron winter? Where do we go from here? Especially when I write this, every week Eastern Idaho's COVID case count shatters new records. How can we get into a positive attitude about the future when the threat of getting a breakthrough infection is still a possibility? Granted, the morbidity factor for Omicron may be 6 times lower than with Delta. However, the number of cases being 4 times higher than under Delta shows that we are not out of the woods. And breakthrough cases are 5 times higher than at the time of the Delta wave. What Annalise and I have learned is that instead of planning for the big things we may still want to do, like travel, we needed to enjoy the little pleasures of our routine everyday life, to live in the moment, such as reading the newspaper during breakfast, which reminds me of the words of folk singer Pete Seeger in the song Get Up and Go, which we first heard in the movie The Weavers when we lived in Columbus, Ohio. It goes like this. I get up each morning and dust off my wits, open the paper and read the obits. If I'm not there, I know I'm not dead. So I eat a good breakfast and go back to bed. Another great pleasure is watching the birds picking seeds from the bird feeder during our meals in the kitchen, and watching what we call the bottom feeders, the squirrels, the doves, and occasionally the magpies, feed on the spilled seeds from the bird feeders above. Going to the gym to be in a human community while doing Tai Chi or other physical activity to keep us healthy. Taking a warm bath while listening to soothing music. I love that. Reading books and magazines. And of course, for us oldies, getting rid of junk, old junk, which, by the way, is a real challenge when you are not under pressure. However, the rediscovering of old memories from all the stuff we have accumulated over our 56 years together is priceless. And going to this church on Sunday mornings to be with you all for the soothing feeling of the familiar and to get replenished by an inspiring message. And most important of all, to value the love Annalise and I have for each other after almost 56 years together. I will end this sermon with the reading of a column written years ago in the Wall Street Journal by Baptist minister Robert J. Hastings, titled The Station. Although it is from a time when train travel was a mode of long-distance transportation, it is a wonderful metaphor for our lives and for what I want to convey this morning. It goes like this. Tucked away in our subconscious is an idyllic vision. We see ourselves on a long trip that spans the continent. We are traveling by train. Out the windows, we drink in the passing scene of cars on nearby highways, of children waving at the crossing, of cattle grazing on the distant hillside, of smoke pouring out of a power plant, of row upon row of corn and wheat, of flatland and valleys, of mountains and hillsides, of city skylines and village halls. But uppermost in our minds is a final destination. On a certain day, at a certain hour, we will pull into the station. Bands will be playing, flags waving. Once we get there, so many wonderful dreams will come true, and the pieces of our lives will fit together like a completed jigsaw puzzle. How restlessly we pace the aisles, damning the minutes for loitering, waiting for the station. When we reach the station, that will be it, we cry. When I'm 18, when I buy a new Mercedes, when I put the last kid through college, when I paid off the mortgage, when I get a promotion, when I reach the age of retirement, I shall live happily ever after. Sooner or later, we must realize there is no station. No one place to arrive at once and for all. The true joy of life is the trip. The station is only a dream. It constantly outdistances us. Relish the moment is a good motto. It isn't the burden of today that drives man mad. It is the regrets over yesterday and the fear of tomorrow. Regret and fear are twin thieves that rob us of today. So, stop pacing the aisles and counting the miles. Instead, climb more mountains, eat more ice cream, go barefoot more often, swim more rivers, watch more sunsets, laugh more and cry less. Life must be lived as we go along. The station will come soon enough. Jessica will now play the interlude, the hymn number 354. We laugh, we cry.
We laugh, we cry, we live, we die, we dance, we sing our song. We need to feel there's something here to which we can belong.
Our closing words today are from a Sanskrit proverb. Yesterday is but a dream. Tomorrow is but a vision. But today well lived makes every day, every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day.
Well, I'm sure we would all love to thank Arthur for his very beautiful and heartfelt reflection today. And we will end our service with extinguishing our chalice. The words are written in your order of service if you'd like to recite them with me. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. It's time for our postlude. Be safe and be well.
Yeah. Okay, I can write it down. I have to remember it. Hold on, I have it here. Anyway. No, here. Oh, okay. I got it. Oh, when air becomes when breath becomes hey, let me just double check just to make sure.